everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a foundation showdown and it's Fenty versus Fenty. So I'm going to be comparing the two Fenty foundations and seeing which one looks better on my face. I have combination skin, so kind of in the T-zone it's a little bit more oily, not even the T-zone. On my nose and my chin it's a bit more oily, and then definitely around the sides of my face there's a lot of dryness. Foundations pretty much always break up on my chin. I don't know if I've ever used a liquid foundation that hasn't done that, like by the end of the day. The only foundations that I've found don't do that is powder foundation. So we'll see how we go today. I'm going to apply the matte foundation on this side of my face and the hydrating foundation on this side of my face. I don't actually have like the bottle to show you because they're like 50 bucks each in Australia, and I didn't want to spend $100 on two foundations that I didn't know if I was going to like, so I just have some little sample pots. I'm going to apply everything using this brush. This is the Zoeva Silk Finish 102 brush, and I prefer a brush to apply foundation, so that's why I'm going to use this, but I do have a beauty blender on hand just in case anything needs like smoothing out. I have already prepped my face, so I have cleansed, exfoliated, moisturized, and I've let my moisturizer sit for like maybe 10 minutes before I'm starting, so hopefully everything is nice and soaked in and it will go well. Okay, so now that you're up close and personal with my face, you can see kind of what my problem areas are. So obviously my chin is quite red, my nose is quite red, and then I've got like a lot of freckles. So here there's quite a lot of freckles, my cheeks are a bit red. This little section here like never gets covered up by like foundation, which I don't really mind, but sometimes when I put on bronzer, I'm like, oh, did it get all the way down there? And then I realize, no, it's just my freckles. And then on this side, I have more freckles, but they're kind of like more evenly dispersed, I suppose. Okay, let's start on this side. I'm going to use the matte foundation. I got the color 150 in each of the foundations, so hopefully that works for me. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to dot it on my cheek just a bit. That'll do. Oh my gosh, that was only from the cap. Sephora gives like really generous samples. This color looks like it's going to be pretty good actually. And I'm just going to press that into my skin. Oh, this is way more full coverage than I would normally go for, but that's fine. Okay, so just that little tiny bit of foundation from the cap has covered my whole cheek, which is great. I'm going to, I probably got too much. I'm going to take some more and put it on my forehead and on my chin and on my nose. I'm actually just going to put this over my eyelid as well. That is like the oiliest part of my face, so we'll see how it holds up there. Okay, that is like a pretty thin layer done on that side of my face. I can still see my freckles like poking through here. I can still see a little bit of redness on my cheek, but that's fine. And even though like I put some on my eyes, I can still see my like eye bags, my dark circles coming through. That is also fine. So I'm going to just put a little bit more like on my cheeks and see if I can build up the coverage at all. Okay, so that did build up the coverage. It's still, I wouldn't say like a crazy full coverage there. I can still see some freckles here, but it also made it look quite a little bit more, it also made it look quite a bit more heavy in that area. So let me see if I can get it even closer to the camera. So hopefully you can see that like in my nose, it doesn't look too bad. I didn't put on a primer and I can see it like in my pores. Here, it's getting a little bit like cakey, settling into some dryness. Maybe I did have to pat that a little bit with my finger. But everywhere else, like, yes, it looks matte, because it is a matte foundation, but I kind of like it. I think it's nice. My pores here are normally quite big and I don't feel like it's accentuating them. I don't particularly feel like it's made them like go away or be diminished, but I don't think that they're being accentuated. Same with the pores on my chin. So I think as far as pores go, like it really looks nice. It is settling into my fine lines on my forehead, but every foundation does that because I'm 30 now and so I have those and I haven't had Botox, so they're there. Okay, I'm really happy with how this matte side is looking at the moment, and I hardly used any of that sample from Sephora. The samples are super generous, like those little things are full to the brim. Okay, now my face looks a bit funny, so let's go in with the hydrating foundation on this side. Now this color is supposed to be the exact same as the matte one, so hopefully it matches and I won't just have two different colors on my face the whole day. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing and dot that on my face, and then we're just going to go and push it in with the brush. Oh, this one already feels very different to apply. It I don't know, I feel like this one has less coverage. This one feels like it has less coverage straight off the bat, although maybe I didn't apply quite as much. I'll apply a little more. I feel like I went a little overboard with the matte one. First go. And this is a lot more sticky than the matte foundation. This one wants to spread less easily than the matte foundation. The matte one I found like really, you put it on and it just spread out nicely. This one takes a little bit more effort. But they are the same color, which is great. Okay, same thing as with the matte one. It's quite like a good coverage, but I can still see like that little cluster of freckles here and some redness on my cheek. So I am going to go over it with a little bit more. This side is like obviously more tacky than the matte side. It does feel like more hydrated. It feels like almost cooler than the matte side of my face, which is a bit strange. Alright, I think that's nice. I think I've got about even amounts of coverage on both sides. So I'm going to stop there. No, actually, I'm going to put a tiny bit more on my chin because here you can see there's a bit more redness than here. Okay, let's bring you in a little bit closer for the hydrated side. Okay, here's the hydrated side. It does have like a bit of a sheen, obviously, since it's a hydrating foundation, like I would expect that. You can see here, like the light is just catching a little bit more, whereas on the matte side, that doesn't really happen. So here for my pores, they are more accentuated than on the matte side. I'm not sure if you can really tell. And in my nose, again, I didn't use a pore filling primer and I can see it in my pores, but that's not so bad. But even then just touching my nose here, it's rubbed off a little, which did not happen on the matte side. I felt like the matte side was a lot more transfer proof. It looks nice though. Again, it's collected a little bit here, same as the matte side. My chin looks a lot smoother here than on the matte side. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but here I feel like it looks quite nice and smooth, and here it's looking a little bit dry. My cheeks look nice, nothing to complain about there. And on my little forehead, my little frown lines here are getting a little accentuated, and same as the matte side, my little wrinkles here, it is collecting in that, but that's okay. Okay, so that's about it for application. I'm not going to use my beauty blender because I don't feel like anywhere needs it. If I look from far away, I prefer the matte side. I feel like it looks like a little bit more flawless. However, no, even close up I prefer the matte side, to be honest. It is more, it's not looking great on my nose, but it's also where like the two foundations joined that it's not looking so good. So I'm not really going to blame that on either of them. I feel like the hydrating side is collecting in like tiny little fine lines way more. The matte side looks like it's getting drier, but it still looks like very even. Okay, at the moment they both look nice. So I'm going to do the rest of my makeup. I'm going to do super simple makeup. I'm not going to powder. I'm only going to, this is still a little bit tacky, but it's like full on transfer. Like if I press my finger onto my face, there's fully foundation on there. Okay, I'm still not going to powder, even though that's happening. I'm just not going to touch that there. I'm only going to powder my eyelids because they are insanely oily. And I'm going to put on a tiny little bit of concealer. And I'm going to put on some mascara, do my eyebrows, and put on a little bit of blush. That is all I'm going to do. Okay, the rest of my makeup is done. Super simple. Didn't really do too much. Didn't want to like disturb the foundation too much. So I put on a little bit of blush and both sides, it went on nicely. I feel like it looks a little bit nicer on this side than the matte side. So hydrating looks really, the powder went on nice. I put on some concealer and I did feel like the concealer went on over the hydrating foundation a little bit easier. So my matte side of my face is completely dry. If I touch it, there's no transfer, whereas the hydrating side of my face is still not dry, and if I touch it, I still am getting a little bit of foundation on my fingers. So I'm just gonna have to try not to touch my face like all day. Overall, I'm not like thrilled with either side, to be honest. They both have good points. I think they both look beautiful on like my large cheek area. This one, the matte side obviously looks a lot more matte, but if you're into that, then it looks great. Like I've got no complaints about it. I don't mind a matte foundation at all. Both of them have like sunken into my lines on my forehead quite a lot, which I'm not thrilled with. So I think if you have more mature skin, this is not for you. Neither of these are for you. Around my nose on the hydrating side, it's looking a lot more cakey than around my nose on the matte side. I think probably because the hydrating side has like a little bit more movement than the matte side. Like the matte side is locked in, but it is looking dry. I had a little bit of an issue up here where it was like sunken into this little line, and I tried to like tap it out with my finger. It did not enjoy that. I think that was the matte foundation that had come over here. So it didn't like that. If you have like done your foundation and then you want to fix something up with the matte one, I don't think that you're really going to be able to. Overall, they both look nice. They're not my favorite foundations that I've ever put on, but I'm not like, oh God, I must take this off now. This is so hideous. So I'm going to go about my day. It is 10 o'clock. So I'll check in like every few hours and see how we're going. And hopefully they are standing up well. I do find that with some matte foundations, sometimes like after they've been sitting on my skin for a little while, then they just like kind of blend in and look really beautiful. So let's hope that this happens with this one. I do film in natural lighting, so I'm hoping that you can see everything properly. I've tried to keep the brightness down so that you could actually see like the discoloration on my face and things. So I hope that it's going okay. This video is already so long. Anyway, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, it's been 2 hours, so it's time for check-in number 1. And so far, I'm actually loving how both sides of my face look. It's pretty interesting, but I feel like the cakiness that was happening like in my nose has really like gone down a lot, which is interesting. The cakiness that was happening here has gone away. Like they've both just really settled into my skin nicely. My forehead, like it's still in the lines of my forehead, but they're like not the smallest lines ever, so I'm not that mad at that. I still don't think that either of these would be great if you had a more mature skin with like a deeper set wrinkles. Definitely, like, it will sink into those. But I'm actually loving how the matte side looks now. It's really kind of just sunken into my skin. Like, obviously my natural oils have started to come out, so it really looks more like a soft matte now, like it's advertised as, more than like a dry matte, which I felt like when I first put it on, it did look quite dry. The only thing is that my under eyes, so I put on just a little bit of Shape Tape concealer on both sides, and on the hydrating side, it looks far more like dewy and hydrated, and on the matte side, it's looking a little too dry. Now, the Shape Tape concealer is quite dry for me on my under eyes anyway, but yes, on the matte side, it really like kind of accentuates that. The thing that I'm not loving about the hydrating side is that my chin is looking pretty shiny, and since that is the most oily part of my face, I'm not that into that. Whereas on the matte side, my chin looks actually great. Let's just take a look at my eyeballs. Actually, on my eyelids, they both look good. Now, I did set my eyelids with just a cream colored eyeshadow, but normally I have to wear like eye primer, and they're both holding up really well. Down the center of my nose where the two foundations meet, not looking so crash hot, but that's okay. I just don't think that they mix very well. So anyway, at the moment, I'm actually kind of really liking both sides. So we will see how they hold up in the next few hours. All right, it's 3 o'clock, so time for 5-hour check-in. Both sides still look pretty good, but the matte side is holding up way, way better. I've lost a lot like around my nose because I've been blowing my nose. On my chin, it is starting to break up on both sides. I did get a little bit more of the hydrating foundation on like kind of all of my chin, but definitely on the hydrating side, it's looking a lot worse for wear than on the matte side. Both of my cheeks still look great. In the middle here is not looking so crash hot. This is like my little frown line is looking like pretty oily, but the matte side of my face is not looking oily. The hydrating side of my face, like it's starting to go downhill now. It looks good, but it doesn't look great. So at the moment, matte side for me, definitely winning. All right, it's 7 o'clock. So the foundation has been on for 9 hours, which for me is kind of how long I want it to look nice for, or like I need it to look nice for if I'm going to work. So look, I've got some thoughts. Now, I actually like around my nose here, there's like nothing left because I've been blowing my nose. My actual nose is so oily, so freaking oily. Like, I can't believe how oily it is. But on my chin here, I mean, my chin looks pretty red, but still the hydrating foundation is like not transfer proof. So if I just get my little mirror, if I like go like this on my chin, all of the foundation comes off. Like, look how much more red that is. However, over here, if I do the same thing, hardly anything comes off on the matte side. So I really like that. The matte side looks more cakey around my nose here than the hydrating side, but there's also less product here. My cheeks look pretty much the same on both sides, but again, I still have that kind of like tacky feeling on the hydrating side. Like, it feels really makeup-y. I feel like if I was going to wear this again, which I will, I'm definitely going to set the hydrating one, whereas the matte one, like, all here looks really nice still. I really, really like it. My eyelids have pretty much creased the same amount. Hydrating side probably a tiny bit more. I don't feel like this foundation would break me out. Normally, I could tell on the first wear because I'll get little pimples like inside my nose here and I have nothing, so that's all good. I did ask my husband which side he likes best and he said this side. Alright, so final thoughts. I definitely prefer the matte side. The hydrating side is just a bit too dewy and glowy for me. Even though the matte side started off looking way too dry, after a couple of hours it really had settled down and I felt like it has looked overall the nicest all day. I don't know that if you have super dry skin you would love the hydrating foundation either. I do have one little like spot here somewhere and it still looks very dry. And even my little blemishes, like I've got a few little bits of texture here and it really like accentuates those. But if you have dry skin, I don't think that you would like the matte one either. If you have super oily skin, then I would say stay away from the hydrating one because you will just be like an oily mess. The matte one would probably be quite nice for you. And if you have combo like me, like look, you could go for either, but I personally prefer how the matte one looks. I like matte foundations though. If you hate matte foundations, then you could go for the hydrating one and it would be fine. Sorry, the lighting in this last section is so bad, but obviously it's nighttime and I can't use natural light anymore, which sucks. Anyway, if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you